Hello everyone, so in this video I thought I'd do something a little bit different to what I normally do and actually show you some of the stuff I've been creating for my Patreon page. I've recently updated a bunch of tiers. It's a lot, there are a lot more, say, affordable options on there now, and I've also put the character sheets on. If you want to buy some of the resources I'm using, I think they're about £3 each on my Patreon shop. Or you can sign up to the Plot Gremlin tier, which I think is £3.50 a month. I'll double check that, I'll put it in the description if I'm incorrect. So yeah, I'm just going to use some of the stuff I've created to create a D&D game. It could work for solo or group. So I'm going to roll up a bunch of characters. We're going to look at a bit of conflict and also wounds and what that means for the game. Because I find a lot of the time, you know, if you want to make your game quite narrative driven, not necessarily narrative, but just to have a tight story, so it's just engaging and, you know, to follow along with, it's important to use the things that afflict your character in some way and to have, say, like a mechanical application to it. So say if someone has suffered a trauma, what does that look like in game? You know, what roles does it affect? What spells does it affect? So yes, I'm going to go onto that in a bit. I also, before I begin, on my Patreon page, I have two versions of things. This is so the background is more of a parchment, but there is also a print-friendly version too that's just plain. So for whatever reason, I've printed out the wrong one, but it doesn't matter, the wrong background. Use a bit more ink than what I was planning. So what I'm going to begin with is... Should I roll for conflict first? Or, do you know what, just to get some ideas. So I'm thinking of a story hook. So yeah, I've gone into this completely blind, by the way. I haven't had any sort of ideas of what to do for this game, this quick demonstration. So I'm going to start with my D100 table. So this is 100 options for traits, occupations, and adventure hooks. So I'm going to I think I'm going to roll my main, say, protagonist or main person. And we're going to go from there. I mean, this person may not end up as a main person. They may end up as a PC or an NPC. But yeah, we've just got to get started and see what we get. So let's have a go. So roll our D100 first. That's 80. Oh. And that's a 2. That was on 80, by the way. I knocked it in my hand. So it's 82. Now I'm going to roll this 3 times to get 3 separate columns. So first column, trait, we're looking at 82. So trait. Oh, commanding. That's good. So this character will be commanding. Right, let's roll the occupation. Oh, is that 0 or 100? I always forget. Okay, so I'm going to treat that as either going to be, if I roll 0 and that's either going to be 100 or it's going to be a single digit. So let's see what we get. Oh, that is a 9. So it's number 9 for occupation. What do we get? Weaver. Interesting. Occupation. And now we're going to have hook, which is one of my more favourite ones. Gives an idea of what story we're going to have. So let's roll another D100. Oh, that's a 10. And, oh, and that's a 9. So that's 19. Hook. Oh, a hidden network. So this D100 table is based on, of course I was writing a D&D game about Anne Boleyn. It's very Tudor inspired. So I'd say anything from 1500s England. Hidden network of Protestants, seeks protection from the wrath of the state. So yeah, during this time, obviously, you had the religious Reformation. There was a lot of changes between Catholicism and Protestantism. So yeah, that draws on that sort of general political and religious discourse going on at the time. So yeah, so just to summarise, we have a commanding weaver who has found themselves embroiled in a hidden network of Protestants who seek protection from the wrath of the state. So that is character number one. And you know what, I'm just going to kind of roll up one character for now and just keep going. So what type of conflict are they going to be in? I mean, obviously we've got a bit of conflict banked in here already, but if we want to drill down in that, kind of like, are they struggling with something within themselves, or is this going to be driven more by the external conflict, which is what's happening to the Protestants, or is there, like I said before, something else on the side where they're trying to overcome something? Usually it's both. So, or always both, should I say, if you want a good story. So I'm going to roll for the type of conflict. So I'm allowing a little bit of leeway here because I'm using all of these things together. This is kind of what I'd call a societal conflict because it's to do with the state. But if I roll something like nature, I can imbue that in there. So, for example, let's just say I did roll nature. Maybe this hidden network of Protestants also has some magical creature they are hiding from the state or that sort of thing. So you can always change things. Like anything is possible when it comes to making a story, really. You can make whatever you want of it. Oh, so that is 3. Oh, verse character. So that's internal conflict. Conflict is going to be leading. So, again, this is also just for ideas. You don't have to go with this. I'm going to, though, just to demonstrate how flexible this sheet is. So internal conflict, and I also give, you don't know what that is, I give a brief explanation of this at the front. So, well, I say brief, it's probably not that brief. Internal conflict comes from within and is an emotional struggle. It originates from the mind. A character grappling with internal conflict may be wrestling with their vaulted ambition. Think Tasha. Other examples of internal conflicts are an identity crisis or a need for validation. To develop a good internal conflict, one has to look inward. How will your characters react when faced with temptation or feelings of guilt, for example? To create internal conflict, you need character flaws. Now, a character can have several minor flaws. These add to their personality and offer lighter opportunities for roleplay. The fatal flaw, however, or the flaw they must overcome, has to be the consequence of a wound, or in other words, a defining hurtful experience. So something has happened to this person where they've got, say, well, let's just say trauma, but say some life experience where, you know, it's profoundly affected them. So what are they going to overcome? So I actually might do some other tables where I drill down on, say, like maybe different words that mean guilt, mean anger, ambition. So I might actually add that to this. So I'm going to figure out what type of internal conflict they have in a bit. But if I roll the conflict weighting, so is it going to be more towards, so is this game going to be geared towards more them overcoming something? Or is it going to be more geared towards the villain, which in this case is probably the state? So, or is it going to be equal? 2, equal weighting. Oh no, more internal, okay. So this character in the game, potentially, they're going to have more internal conflict. So yeah, as a GM, you could maybe do things that challenge the player that affects their internal conflict. Again, this is very like drilled down. You don't have to do this. It's just all ideas and kind of getting you to think of how to structure an adventure that gives basically the most amount of payoff possible. So conflict twists. 3, allies turn against the protagonist. So yeah, this can be used as part of the backstory, or it can be used as part of your potential twist you're going to have in game. So let's just say this person is part of this hidden network of Protestants. Maybe there is a spy within that group, and that's how you can imbue that into the game. Or alternatively, if you're doing backstory, maybe this happened to them in the past and they're struggling with feelings of guilt and trust, which bakes into the internal conflict they're feeling, and maybe some of the tasks or challenges you get them to complete play into this, or maybe some of the scenarios you write has them interacting with NPCs or even their other comrades or party members, you know, that brings this out where they have to kind of, you know, overcome this in some way, sort of, you know, pushes their buttons, so to speak. Okay, so that's given me an idea of the type of conflict I'm going to have and kind of what's at stake. So we've got an idea of a wound here, so it's potentially trust. Well, I'm going to roll for one anyway. Again, with these sheets, you don't have to use all of them at the same time. This is what I'm doing. You can just use them in isolation when you're stuck. So just say I thought of a character and I'm not sure the type of wound they have. Yeah, I can scroll from a D10 to get an idea. Again, we don't have to use it. It's just purely to help you along the way. So let's see what kind of wound they might have. So 1, you couldn't save a loved one who was possessed. Now that does kind of fit quite well. And what does that look like in game if someone's carrying this trauma or scar? So mechanics, advantage on insight checks, especially with regards to influence, disadvantage when casting healing word. Role-playing opportunities, doesn't let go of the medicine book they carry, talks to lost loved one, seeks redemption. So let's just kind of flesh this out a bit now. So let's imagine I'm kind of maybe going for the more backstory route. So we have a person, and I think I might make this person female. So they're going to be female, and their name is, if it's the 1500s, what will their name be? Let's say Mary. Mary is commanding. So what does that mean? She stands up for herself. She knows what she wants. Knows her values, I'd say. Believes in herself, so she's quite confident. Very independent. And she is a weaver. So a weaver, in my opinion, is someone that makes all sorts of maybe like blankets and things. I'm not sure if like looms and that were invented then. So yeah, let's just say she's kind of like a tailor of sorts. I mean, she could even be making tapestries. I'm not sure if weavers make tapestries as well, and that would have been quite a high up job. Yeah, I might just say she makes tapestries loosely. It may not be what a weaver is, but that's kind of in my mind what she does. And these tapestries are very expensive, very luxurious purchase. However, she has recently turned her back on her Catholic faith and is living in secret as a Protestant. So let's just say she's around the time of, I don't know, Queen Mary, so just before Elizabeth. So she's very, she knows what she's doing is very risky, and obviously with tapestries and things, she's often selling these to, or taking commissions from families who are Catholic and hold positions of influence. So what's her internal conflict? So it's more internal conflicts. This character, it's more about overcoming her own demons and maybe getting involved in this business of the state. So we could have a story within that, in that, her flaw is she's not very trusting, because obviously she feels someone's turned against her in the past. It's almost like she's independent to a fault. And this sort of, these trust issues have been sort of magnified because she's in this secret Protestant group. Her wound. She couldn't save a loved one who was possessed. And that could be who was possessed. So perhaps maybe that's what drove her change of faith initially. So I think, she's naturally, her magic, essentially, she has a lot of healing magic, but she as a sort of job or how she functions in society, she makes tapestries. So yeah, she does have healing magic. And Jen, who knows, maybe when she's recruited into a band of adventurers, that's when we lean more into that, you know. She she becomes a healer, like, full-time, as it were, or, you know, these abilities are nurtured, and, you know, and she stops, obviously, working her day job as a weaver. So I think that's given us a really, really good idea, fleshed out who this character is, what her flaws are, what we need to look out for. So because she has trust issues, this may mean that, you know, she's always maybe not trusting what NPCs say. And so that might mean when she's having, when she's engaged with an NPC, the DC may be higher for her to get sort of information out of them, or information that she will trust and use. So yeah, you can always sort of weave that as a GM. So yeah, you can alter DCs and things. Okay, so that's that done. And what I might do now is maybe think of, in terms of Dungeons and Dragons, sort of classes and that. So what class would she be? I mean, she has a lot of healing capabilities. She works as a weaver as her day job. What does that look like if I was to choose, say, sort of races, classes and stuff like that? So I think because she is healing, I might make her... I might make her a druid. She'll be a human druid. And perhaps the tapestry she makes, they're all made out of, you know, sort of, you know, the material's very high quality, like the dyes she uses are all derived from different flowers. So yeah, she's used to working with the natural world. Okay, and then from that I can lean into obviously healing capabilities, and maybe then we can lean into sort of making tonics from foraging. And maybe if this Protestant underground group she's in, you know, maybe she then becomes a healer for them. Okay, so I think we're getting somewhere. That's kind of cool. So we've got an idea of our character that's fleshed out. Now I think I might...
A few moments later.
Right, so I am back after developing a character based on all the things I've written down. So obviously she's called Mary. She is a human druid, and I just kind of want to start to take you through her sort of typical stat scores. So for strength she has 10, dex is 13, constitution 15, intelligence 10, wisdom 17, and charisma 10. Charisma is quite low because she could be a little bit abrasive. She's not very trustworthy of people. I put constitution quite high. Again, for the obvious, because it gives her, like, obviously better chance of surviving in the fight. But also her personality, she will stand up for herself and things like that. And she's not kind of scared to get into, like, altercations if she feels she's defending someone or doing the right thing. Wisdom, obviously, 17. She's worldly wise, healer, druid. Dex, 13. I suppose she... works in a weaver's mill? Yeah, loom. Is it a loom? I don't know. And so obviously she's kind of, you know, she's got to be quick on her feet, working with a bit of machinery, spinning wool. So yeah, I thought dexterity should be relatively like the third highest after all of those. So to take you through then her spells and things, what I chose. So these are on the back of the sheet. I was going to show D&D and Beyond before. I'll do a PDF, but I don't know if I'm regretting it now because I'm not used to the layout seeing it like this. So obviously she has Healing Word. She could also cast Protection from Good and Evil, Purify Food and Drink, Absorb Elements. She can also detect poison and disease and speak with animals. So I figured they all fall into that sort of healing category, kind of defending or looking after others. So yeah, for example, detecting poison and disease, that kind of helps the community. Purifying food and drink. For cantrips, she has Resistance, Create Bonfire, Spare the Dying, obviously for healing, Guidance, again, kind of helping others, and Message. So remember I was talking about how her flaws and personality traits of conflict, I want it to feed into my character sheet. So for example, with Message, I want to tie that into the wound she has. So her wound, I rolled a 1, and it was that she couldn't save a loved one who was possessed. And because of this in game, she has advantage on insight checks, especially with regards to sort of detecting influence, or if someone's being influenced by someone or something, and has disadvantage when casting Healing Word. So I've made a note here for Healing Word. This is in D&D Beyond, but for some reason it didn't come out in the PDF. So disadvantage until she kind of like forgives herself over her sister's death. So in game, this can be done by sort of role-playing opportunities that maybe lead to points where the GM feels the player has sufficiently fulfilled that task. So yeah, maybe it's how she interacts with NPCs. So there's loads of things you can do, because in the game I'm playing, God, it's a campaign that's gone on for about 7 years. My GM is very similar to me, very sort of narrative GM. And he does things like this where it always feeds into the story. And another thing I want to do, one of her cantrips is Message. And I was like, well, I don't want her to be using this right away. Because of her background, she doesn't trust a lot of people. And I don't think she'd naturally lean towards using, I suppose, this spell. So I want to tie into the whole forgiveness thing. So I feel like her lack of being able to trust people comes also from her not forgiving herself for letting her sister pass away. So I've put a note here, can't use until GM has said so, or she's passed a test for trust, or passed a test for forgiving herself. So yeah, we can always elaborate on that later, but that's kind of what I was thinking. Now, to kind of tie in with that, I'm going to go through her, let's see, all the nice backstory bit that people probably don't look at much when they're playing the game. So, character backstory. I've got Emily is a commanding weaver who has turned her back on her Catholic faith after she couldn't save her sister from being possessed. So yeah, we got that from the D100 table. This still haunts her to this day, so much so when she casts Healing Word, it's a disadvantage. She must forgive herself to lose a disadvantage on this roll. At this moment, insight checks regarding influence are at an advantage due to her hypervigilance. That's from obviously the trauma from losing her sister. There will also be this will also reset once she has undergone her personal transformation. So it's kind of like once she does transforms and forgives herself, I suppose the cost of that is she does lose that sort of advantageous detection of knowing if someone is under the influence of something. But at the same time, she gets to use Healing Word back, she's feels better in herself. So here, she works in her father's loom, spinning sometimes dyeing wool. She has also undertaken an apprenticeship and is learning to create tapestries. This gives her access to people from the noble and other classes who purchase his work to furnish their grand estates. At heart, Emily... Oh, I kind of want to keep calling her Emily. It's Mary. At heart, Mary is a healer, though she isn't aware of this yet. Perhaps she meets the right people, she can nurture this knowledge and develop her fledgling healing abilities. So this character sheet, again, because I'm thinking... I want to start right at the beginning of a campaign. So, Mary... Why have I written Emily everywhere? Mary, at the minute, she's working in a loom. She's kind of fallen into this Protestant group after turning her back on a Catholic faith due to the death of her sister. So, yeah, I've put her as a level 1. So she's still very much kind of living in her zone of comfort, would say, if we was referring to the story circle and her development. So she's very much in this point yet. She needs to have, like, an inciting incident, or the GM, creates, like, a task or a thing, a hook that gets her out of this. So, to carry on, I'm going to talk through her personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. So, personality traits. So, given from what I've rolled, so one of the traits we rolled on the D100 table was commanding, and what I got from that was sort of a sense of independence, confidence, and perhaps strong values. So for independent, I put in brackets, this is under the personality trait section, independent to a fault because she doesn't trust others. She's confident, quietly confident, stoic, stands her ground in the face of adversity. Strong values, strong sense of right or wrong, especially when standing up for other people other than herself. For ideals, I've put, I believe in a fair and just world free from religious persecution. For the second one, in the end, good always overcomes evil. And the third one, to truly know someone, let them show you. So yeah, she's very much on guard, let's say, for people that perhaps, could mean her harm. And yeah, she wants to defend others. And yeah, just wants a free world, let's say. So bonds, it always haunt me that I couldn't save my sister. So this then relates back to the wound we rolled about not being able to save someone who was under possession. And for the flaws, I don't trust people as freely as I should. This makes life difficult for me as I often shut people out and don't accept help. Now that I got from the conflicts. Remember when we rolled conflict? I rolled on the D6 that the story for her was geared towards more internal conflict. And yeah, another thing I rolled, I think, on that table was like an example of how a conflict twist, let's say, that either can happen in-game or part of a backstory, is allies turn against, like the protagonist turn against her. So maybe there's a spy in her group that the GM could write in that will maybe, betray the group, or this is something that's already happened to her and she's still recovering from that in addition to her sister passing away. So in additional notes, I've got Emily's had to deal with the catastrophic life event of losing her sister. She needs to keep her fellow Protestant friends out of trouble, and she's convinced there's a spy from their ranks. But is this fault a result of her not being able to fully trust other people and herself? She's increasingly gaining more access to prominent noble Catholic families. What does this mean for her and her friends? So yeah, this is when, as you're designing a game, again, for solo, you pretty much have full control of this. You can use this. But yeah, I'd use this in terms of like, this is an idea of a character, sort of speaks to the player. And I mean, these are ideas a player could come to you with, and you could then integrate it into your game as they go along. Like, hey, I've got this idea, this is her loss, this is what I'm thinking in this world. And what I like about this is, contrary to popular belief, character development and world building go hand in hand. They're not distinct, they do influence each other. So from this, I can sort of branch out and think, okay, so we have one character here that's dealing with the loss of her sister. She works in a loom. She's part of a Protestant group that wants to resist sort of Catholic or persecution from the Catholics. Okay, so from that, it's like, oh, what other faction could I create? Is there like an equivalent group that is predominantly Catholic that wants to track down Protestant stuff, which obviously there would be, but it's more of the state. But on a more local level, are there like vigilantes, let's say, that sort of believe in their Catholic faith so strongly, they take it upon themselves, not even ordered by like the Queen or anything else, to sort of go after Protestants. There's that as well. You could also maybe focus on her father and the loom, and maybe the loom, there's a conspiracy there, like, maybe someone's hiding something there. Is there like some treasure there? There's so many things you can branch out on, and then dealing with sort of villains in this, like who is the villain they will have to come up against, maybe engage in combat with. What do the monsters look like? What do the animals look like? So yes, with this you can definitely sort of zoom out. And yeah, I'm not sure whether to leave it here. So yeah, we've got one character in. And yeah, I'm hoping that has demonstrated how you can use tables I've created. I have an idea for another one where we can expand on maybe, like from here, for example, is it the wounds I wanted to do? I think it was the wounds. So yeah, kind of, that's it, flaws. That's what I want to do. So maybe expand on flaws and give like roll tables the types of flaws people have. So if it's guilt, what other words, kind of derive from guilt or very similar to. So kind of like, I suppose, a table lookup, like a thesaurus for flaws. So that could go quite well with the conflict and the wounds, especially if one rolls internal conflict. So yeah, hopefully that wasn't too complicated. I mean, I've used these sheets a lot, but they can just be used lightly. Like if you're struggling, if you're thinking there's something not quite right with my campaign, like I don't feel there's enough tension, just go straight to the conflict sheet and just roll something to get your ideas flowing. Likewise, if you want to add a bit of depth to an NPC, or you want to work on a playing character with your player, use the wounds and see what mechanics you can create in terms of their sort of character development and what things affected them throughout the game. Because it didn't have to be negative. Like maybe they've experienced something very positive in their life and they get loads of, well, not loads, but they get advantage, they get bonuses. So yeah, it hasn't have to be doom and gloom. So yeah, I might do, instead of a wounds, I might do like a boon sheet to kind of like how it looks when good things happen and players, it's not just about leveling up, but yeah, players get sort of little bonuses in that way. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I might do some more of these as I make more of these sheets on Patreon. So I'll leave the details below about the different tiers. And yeah, I think all of these sheets are priced at £3 on my Patreon shop. So yeah, if you don't want to join a subscription, you can just buy one off. I may do deals and maybe bunch them up just to save people a little bit of money if they want to buy in bulk at a time. So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.